It's me, and I got a boat. Boat, how you doing?
I'm doing good. This is going to be fun. Do we want to just get into it? Start talking about what the show is?
Yeah. So you explain, since you came up with the title, you explain what we're doing here.
Yeah. This is Siskel and Ebert at the video store. Mike and I are both big Siskel and Ebert nerds. We love old episodes of Siskel and Ebert, and we were talking like we wanted to do something connected with, at the movies with Siskel and Ebert. And we were like, Mike, I believe, had the idea of, well, what if we reviewed Siskel and Ebert and reviewed old episodes of Siskel and Ebert, and for each one we gave a thumbs up or a thumbs down to each individual review. And I said that is a terrible idea. I love it. Let's do it. So that's what we're going to be doing. For the first episode, we knew we had to start out big. We had to start out strong. So there's some other movies in there. There's Lassie. There's It Could Happen One Night. There's Barcelona. That's The Client. But the big one, we're starting off with They're Talking North, guys.
Yes.
Probably their most famous review, I would say.
Yeah, it's definitely up there for sure. Everyone that knows Siskel and Ebert knows this review, has seen it, has heard about it, what have you. They know this review exists, and this is exciting to actually do our first one on this one, which I will get Nazaro's lazy ass to make us some graphics for thumbs up and thumbs down. So, it saves us the work of actually doing thumbs up ourselves. We let the graphics do the speaking for us. But for now, we're going to be using our thumbs, just like Siskel and Ebert.
We got to do some exercises. Okay, my thumbs are ready.
Let's go. So we got the episode up here. We're going to go through each movie. Once we're done talking about the movie, I'm going to take it away, and we're going to give our thoughts on their reviews of this. Are you ready, Bo?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
The intro is just so good.
Oh, yeah.
It's so freaking good. Like, it is cheese upon cheese upon cheese.
Yes.
But it's so good. It is like, it's the most 80s or 90s. Well, this is the 90s. It's the most 80s thing you'll ever see in the 90s.
1,000%.
Like, I have to expect Steve Urkel to walk through the door.
Why can't everyone just leave me alone? Some sweaty fat guy blows his head off.
Did you lie to the police?
I didn't.
Well, it says here in this paper that you found your own Clifford dead.
I did.
Susan Sarandon finds herself with a young client and a lot of danger in The Client, one of 5 new movies we'll be reviewing this week on Siskel and Ebert. Also coming up, a comedy starring Nicolas Cage and Rosie Perez, and a comeback for the great movie dog Lassie. I'm Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times.
And I'm Gene Siskel of the Chicago Tribune, and our first film is The Client, and I must say that for a thriller, I found this film awfully dull. First of all, it has a child for the protagonist. He witnesses a suicide of a mob lawyer.
Oh,
right
he starts off
away,
as a child.
was going to happen.
Yeah, shit.
So, no real tension
Movies
there. Then there's
shouldn't
the
have
kid's
children.
attorney.
Everyone
Susan
should
Sarandon
be like
playing the
me.
typical
Gene
plucky,
Siskel,
independent
born at the age of
case of her
30.
dreams, keeping authorities from interrogating
I
the boy.
skipped childhood. I was born at 30.
Outside the presence of his mother without her consent. He specifically asked you if any of
When I was on the playground, I was doing my taxes. I wasn't on the... I'm
I'd
Gene
like to confer with
Siskel.
my client and meet with you people in my office tomorrow around, say, 3 o'clock. And if I need anything from you boys, like the truth, well, I expect to get it.
Out to pressure the kid is Tommy Lee Jones as a federal prosecutor based in New Orleans. I think Jones's performance is a little over the top with his patented verbal gimmicks.
Haven't we played enough games here? Your Honor, we are all searchers for the truth. A man has been murdered and another man lies dead by his own hand, yet this boy remains silent. What wanton hubris is
Can you
this?
sanction his
Now,
buffoonery?
fine lips
Yes.
are an abomination.
Yeah,
to
like,
the
yeah.
The real bad guys in the film
You know what I'm
are just
referencing,
generic
right?
mob hitmen led
Yes.
by Anthony LaPaglia. They want to silence the kid, to kill him if need be, to keep him from talking to the police about the murder of a U.S. senator.
Hey!
Australian Zone as well.
And those action scenes are standard too. I really thought this whole film was much ado about nothing. Jones and Sarandon's are all behavior, presenting sort of highlights from previous performances of theirs. Nothing specific in this picture. And again, you never really fear for the kid's life. Thumbs down from me on The Client.
Thumbs down for me, too, although I liked the first hour of the movie, I think, better than you did, because I thought that Brad Renfro, who plays that young boy, is a natural actor and very talented, and I liked his rapport with Sarandon, and I liked some of the minor characters as the people are being set up. But I think the problem with the Grisham story here is he's very good at creating characters and very bad at doing anything other than a very routine, recycled plot. I mean, one more movie where somebody is creeping around in the old boathouse, spying on the bad guys who are going to give away all their secrets and be overheard. That was just automatic pilot, and it really disappointed me that the last half of the movie lost.
And boring bad guys. Nothing specific. Okay, next movie.
And our next movie is Lassie, which...
Okay. So, that's the way you start off.
I didn't even think about how much that does happen.
Yeah. Like when he was saying it, I went, God damn, he is right. Pretty much every John Grisham book and movie have pretty much the same fucking concept. And told in a little different way.
The only exception is Christmas with the Cranks.
Yes. Which nobody fucking remembers that. But yes. So they both gave it a thumbs down. Siskel hating Brad Renfro. and Ebert hating
I don't think it's that he hates Brad Renfro. It's that Siskel hates children.
Yeah.
Has a child in it. It's bad.
And he hates Tommy Lee Jones' recycled accent, which, yeah, he has done that accent before, so I'll give him that. But what do you think of both Siskel and Ebert's reviews of Thumbs Down?
I mean, I think Ebert hits the nail on the head a little bit better. I think it feels like every other John Grisham movie. Siskel's a little too harsh, but he's basically accurate, though. I don't think he needed to go after the fact that it's centered around a child. That was a weird point. So much like how Ebert gave the film a slightly harsher or a slightly lighter thumbs down, and Siskel gave the film a very hard thumbs down. I'm giving Ebert's review a very hard thumbs up. Siskel's gets a light thumbs up.
So, as I do agree with everything they said, with Siskel, he goes a little hard, as you said with that. So I'm gonna give him a little thumbs down for his review because he just goes a little too hard. Ebert, it is a recycled plot of this movie. Even though I enjoy the recycled plot, I still agree with Ebert with this. So I will be giving him a big thumbs up for his review of The Client. So we move on, as we heard, to Lassie, which we're gonna hear some Alice in Chains for some fucking reason.
I was not prepared for Lassie. Let's just say that right now.
Which is not a remake of the classic Lassie Come Home from 1943 or any of the other Lassie movies for that matter, but more of a modern story involving a collie who is named Lassie because she is adopted by a family whose little daughter watches Lassie reruns on television and says, "This must be Lassie." The movie takes place mostly in Virginia, where Lassie and her new family come to live. The children's mother has died some time ago. Their father has remarried, and here he introduces his new wife to his first wife's father.
Well, I can't tell you how good it is to have these two youngsters back with me. Hey, what do we have here?
That's a new dog.
Oh, it's just a stray we picked up on the side of the road.
Just a
I haven't
stray.
been this happy since a
This is a
summer
beautiful dog.
Thanksgiving. You know, he fell down well, right?
As the grandfather,
Multiple times.
Lasse's son, played by Thomas Geary, is a city kid who digs rock and roll more than the countryside. But Lassie is a clever dog and knows how to lure him outdoors.
I like how he plays the complete opposite of his Sandlot character.
Yeah.
Completely
I
different.
realized I was just looking up where do I recognize this kid, and it's like it's freaking small.
Meanwhile, the nasty rich kids next door
That's
take
not
delight in
small.
scaring the family's flock of sheep with their noisy little all-terrain vehicles. have the same problem with Lassie that I have with a lot of animal pictures, and that's that the animals are always the smartest characters in these movies. The people in these films never seem to catch on that when Lassie barks, she's really trying to tell them something important and doesn't just want to go outdoors. But I guess there wouldn't be a movie if Lassie wasn't smart. And actually, this is a very warm-hearted film that does deal with family issues such as the problem the kids, and especially the boy, have in accepting their new stepmother. I like the movie enough to give it thumbs up, and I even forgive it for the big manipulative scene at the end where it looks like poor Lassie is drowned while saving a life.
I liked it probably more than you. I did like it more than you. And yes, parents should be aware they're going to be called on by their little ones to say, don't worry, honey, Lassie's going to be okay.
That's right.
That's the only thing I did like. I thought that the picture really
it's
was
not a
also
child,
in love with
but
the outdoors,
it's more about
with
the
country
animal.
life.
So,
and you know,
it's
they were showing
you
these
respect
landscape
animals more
shots
than
and all that.
children. I like
Wouldn't you, as a city kid, because I certainly did, say, come on, that's a great life out there.
Gee, that's really wonderful how this poor family with an unemployed father is able to live on this $10 million spread. That was nice.
In Virginia.
One weak point you have to admit, Gene, the bad people next door, Frederick Forrest and his two mean little kids, are there simply to be the bad people next door. They just act bad all the time.
But it was
doesn't seem motivated.
Well, they're rich. They're rich. They're not salt of the
proves
earth. Absolutely. You know that rich people are
Despite
bad.
everything, I enjoyed it. Coming up next, the cop gives a waitress.
Seems a comedy.
Oh, God. Okay.
Adelaide Spence would like Gene Siskel.
They're rich, so they have to be bad. I will start off right there and say I'm giving a big thumbs up for Siskel's review just by that comment alone. It basically sums that up that they're the rich assholes. So they don't like the people coming in and taking stuff that they would want themselves, and they outbid the rich people, which is fucking hilarious to me. Bo, what do you think of Siskel's review?
You know, it's weird. I probably agree with Ebert a little bit more, though I disagree with both of them in that I would probably give the movie itself a thumbs down. I think the movie's... when it's not confusing and weird, it's boring. So it goes between just making a lot of very 1994 choices, the boring Lassie thing, and I don't think it really works for either of those. Though I agree with Ebert a little bit more because Ebert's a little harsher. I'm actually going to give Ebert the thumbs down, and I'm going to give Siskel the thumbs up because while I disagreed with Siskel a little bit more, that last line was such a good barb. I've got to give credit. That was just such like a good like like just the perfect way to respond to a valid point made by Roger.
And speaking of Roger, I actually agree with Roger's assessment that the animals in these movies are usually smarter than everyone else, and it is in this movie as well. You should figure out by the second time Lassie's barking that some shit's about to go down, and you need to go find Lassie to help out. So I'm also going to give Ebert's review a thumbs up.
That's fair.
And we move on to Rage Cage.
$2 million tip. It's based on a true story. It could happen to you.
If this ticket wins, I'll come back tomorrow and split the proceeds. And if it doesn't, I'll still come back and leave you a tip. What do you think?
Story?
Do you know what?
Numbers again.
Did you just sing that?
12,
I think so,
16, 26, 64.
I did not know that.
When we return, sports with Larry Lipschitz.
That's unbelievable.
Nicolas Cage and his wife, Rosie Perez, win the New York lottery, but that's just the start of their problems, and it could happen to you. A boring title, but a marvelous, most entertaining movie that I think would be a lot bigger
really
hit
boring
with its original title, which sums up its fresh story. This picture was originally called, get this, Cop Gives Waitress $2 million Tip. Wouldn't you want to go to see a picture like that?
What a fucking title.
Could happen to you on it. Change the title now.
I'm going to be honest.
Lots of money. The cop is played by Nicolas Cage, one of our best young actors, and he and his wife, Rosie Perez, do hit the lottery together. Just one problem. He said he'd split the ticket with a waitress when he didn't have tip money for her. His wife is furious, as only Rosie Perez can get.
Uriel, $2 million is still an enormous amount of money.
You should be committed to an insane asylum for the rest of your natural life.
The waitress is played by Bridget Fonda, good young actress, and she's stunned at what this honest cop tells her.
The lottery. The New York State, the lottery. The actual lottery, New York State lottery, $4 million.
Yes, $4 million is our share. Happened last night. Well, it would have been more, except a bowling team from Albany called in. They took about $9 million out of the pot, but we won.
And you're telling me that you're actually going to split it with me?
A promise is a promise.
Naturally, she and the cop do hit it off.
Most people would have done the same.
Nobody would have done the same. Are you kidding?
That's very true.
What you did was like a fairy tale.
Everything about this story and these characters is fresh, his honesty, her decency, and they do spend an enchanted night together at the Plaza Hotel.
There's really a robe in there?
Terry cloth. Nice. Really nice. It's for sale. You could buy it for like $100 or something. I think it's $100, yeah.
I'll do it.
Oh, this is a wonderful story, and I thoroughly enjoyed this movie, directed by Andrew Bergman. The chemistry between Fonda and Cage is real, and Rosie Perez provides marvelous comedy just like she did in White Men Can't Jump. It Could Happen to You is one of the best romantic comedies in recent years that I've seen.
Boy, I liked it a whole lot, too. And, you know, Andrew Bergman is also the man who made The Freshman.
Yes.
And he starred Nicolas Cage. They worked together in Honeymoon in Vegas with the parachuting Elvis impersonators. This movie is a little more human nature and a little less broad-scale comedy, but it has some big laughs and it has a lot of truth in it. And you're right about Rosie Perez. Now, she's been criticized for always giving the same performance, but on the other hand, I always like the performance when she gives it. And here, she is just fabulous in that scene where she finds out she won the lottery. I thought she was going to explode.
We just saw a movie with two big stars where I Love Trouble.
Yeah. Nick
Nolte, Julia Roberts. They didn't have any chemistry at all. You want to see chemistry in a movie? This is a great matched pair, Nicolas Cage and Bridget Fonda.
Well, but there's also chemistry all the way around because Perez has chemistry with everybody.
Cage is an actor. I love him in Red Rock West. It's one of my favorite movies of the year. This is also one of my favorite movies of the year. He's a big talent.
Okay, so it's a lot of fun, and it's called, what was the name of that title again?
It Could Happen to You.
It Could Happen to You. Why didn't they call it Cop Gives Waitress $2 Million Tip? Now that was a title. It could happen to you. When we come back, a kid decides to
I think the compromise is you call the movie The $2 Million Tip.
Yeah, there we go.
That's what you call it. I think Cop Gives Waitress $2 Million Tip. It's just way too long.
I like how Ebert loves the movie but had to roast it at the end regardless. Just go, what was that title again?
It is a bad title.
Yeah,
it's
a bad title.
It could happen to you. Awful title.
What did you think about Siskel and Ebert's review of It Could Happen to You?
Yeah, I would say overall, I agree with both of them. It's a good movie. I was a little more disappointed within it than they were, just because I still thought it was a good movie. I thought it could have been a great movie. It has a lot of like Capra-esque moments to it. It could have really have been like just one of those like great romantic comedies. I don't think it quite gets there. I don't think it's any of the actors' faults. They're all great. But I just think, especially in like the second half, I think the movie kind of drags. That being said, I think both Siskel and Ebert are basically correct here. They point out a lot of good things. I think it's very funny that Gene felt the need to call out I Love Trouble. But yeah, I'm going to say overall, thumbs up for Gene, thumbs up for Roger.
And I actually agree with you. I agree with both of what they have both said. The chemistry on par with Fonda and Nicolas Cage is fucking up there. It's great. Rosie Perez is doing Rosie Perez, but she fucking does it better than anyone else, so she got to keep doing it. But I will agree with you that the second half does start to fall apart a little bit, starts to drag a little bit. However, I enjoy the movie as a whole. I'm both giving a thumbs up to both Roger and Siskel, which we move on. Yes, we're moving on to the ultimate movie. Here we go.
Old parents go looking for some new ones in North.
It's so random that it's Julia Louis-Dreyfus and Jason Alexander as the North parents.
Yeah.
Man, imagine being able to go to the movies and like Forrest Gump and The Lion King
this year's
and
recipient
those
of the
are
coveted Mr.
Yeah.
Extreme Award. Well, that shut him up.
A boy played by Elijah Wood gets fed up with his folks in that scene from North and decides that since they don't pay attention to him, he will divorce them and go looking for a new set of parents. And that's the setup for one of the most thoroughly hateful movies of recent years. A movie that makes me cringe even when I'm sitting here thinking about it. Look at this scene, for example, where young North is in court trying to dump his parents who are comatose with shock.
And there's nothing left for me to do but make my judgment. And in my judgment, any folks who would sleep through a trial like this are folks who don't deserve to have a wonderful upstanding son like North.
Then there's a series of auditions as would-be parents from around the country try out for the role of North's new mom and dad. Dan Aykroyd and Reba McEntire are a couple of absurd Texans who want to adopt him.
This man is our tongue was cut out.
The Hawaiian Islands are some amazingly tasteless
You won't
dialogue
talk to
about
me.
why these two people don't have children.
Hawaii is a lush and fertile land. In fact, there's only one barren area on all of our islands. Unfortunately, it's Mrs. Holt.
The infamous crack.
A mysterious character keeps turning up on North's travels. He's played by Bruce Willis as an Easter bunny, a Western ranch hand, a beachcomber, and a Federal Express driver who gets in lots of product plugs.
What are you? Some kind of guardian angel?
Well, I guess you can say that. Because in a manner of speaking, we at Federal Express feel that we are guardians. Guardians of your most important packages and priority communication.
I hated this movie as much as any movie we've ever reviewed in the 19 years we've been doing this show. I hated it because of the premise, which seemed shockingly cold-hearted, and because this premise is being suggested to kids as children's entertainment, and because everybody in the movie was vulgar and stupid, and because the jokes weren't funny, and because most of the characters were obnoxious, and because of the phony attempt to add a little pseudo-hip philosophy with a Bruce Willis character. Now, I think Elijah Wood is a fine young actor, and of course, Rob Reiner, the director, has made one terrific movie after another, so I would prefer to consider North as just a very unfortunate aberration in these otherwise admirable careers.
Well, I mean, I think you got to hold Rob Reiner's feet to the fire here. I mean, he's the guy in charge. He's saying that this is entertainment. It's deplorable. I mean, there isn't a gag that works. You couldn't write worse jokes if I told you to write worse jokes.
And of course, you could always...
The ethnic stereotyping is appalling.
Yes.
It's embarrassing. You feel unclean as you're sitting there. It's junk. First-class junk.
And then the idea that kids might be lured in by television ads to see this movie about a little child who, you know, throws away his parents and goes shopping for a new set. It's really...
Any subject could be done well. This is just trash, Roger.
Okay. Coming up next, American Yuppies in the early 80s.
Okay. Well, yeah, I'm going to say right now, I agree with both their assessments. I do love that Roger does go, Elijah Wood is a fine young actor. He's not blaming Elijah Wood for this at all, which I like. He doesn't. Yeah, Roger doesn't blame either Rob Reiner either, but then Siskel calls him out for it, just going, you got to blame at least Reiner, because he is in charge of this movie, which I wholly agree with. Yeah, the majority of the jokes don't work. I think they're like the movie itself gets a little more hatred than it probably is. It's not a good movie, but is it as bad as they are presenting it? Not necessarily. It's still a shit movie, but not as like, I wouldn't call it one of the worst movies ever. The jokes certainly don't work, but one of the jokes that did kind of work was when in the Hawaii, when they show that he has his crack up on screen. That thing got a little crackle for me because of Elijah Wood. Elijah Wood saying it that way, and his expression got me. But yes, for both the reviews, I'm giving a big thumbs up for both of them.
Yeah, definitely a thumbs up for Gene, but a big thumbs up for Roger. Like that, it's, you know, Gene's part of it is like, you know, it's like, yeah, he's right, very good. But Roger's just pure anger about North is just so hilarious. Like, it's so funny how much he just despises North. But the movie is bad. It is very bad. But just seeing how much, he even opens. Rarely do they show their hand within the first sentence.
Yeah.
Ebert just straight up says one of the most despicable movies I've ever seen. Amazing.
He's describing the plot while hating it at the same time, which is fucking incredible to do.
Yeah. No, big thumbs up for both of them. This is an iconic review for a reason.
Oh, yeah. Which we move on.
Spain, they're funny, naive, and dangerous. Barcelona is next.
Our next film is called Barcelona, and this is a whimsical treat from writer-director Whit Stillman, who, with his previous cult hit Metropolitan, now has a corner on the WASP comedy of manners. He's the WASP Woody Allen. The only wrinkle with Barcelona is that these young WASPs are setting up and enforcing American foreign policy. The time is the early 80s, the place Barcelona, and while some Spanish activists want to throw out the Yankees, a young naval officer and his cousin, a top salesman for an American corporation, are competing for beautiful Spanish women.
Have you noticed the ways always making little digs at my intelligence?
No.
You see, in the U.S., we take these tests called college boards to see whether we go to a university that's selective, highly selective, or not at all selective, which is where I went. My board scores were very bad.
But you seem very intelligent for an American.
Well, I'm not. The worst part was Ted getting 800 boards. Perfect scores. But since then, I've met other people with 800 boards, and they don't seem particularly intelligent either.
So Ted is very smart.
Well, he tests well.
Many of the laughs in Whit Stillman's films revolve around his character.
Chris Eichmann is
way
so
of speaking. They talk jargon while the real world is vibrating around them.
I think it's true that the height of the sexual revolution is over. I don't go to bed with just anyone anymore. I have to be attracted to them sexually.
But I always thought that women had to have some kind of profound emotional bond with a man. That a secure romantic relationship before they became interested in a relation of that kind.
Oh, no.
What's really funny about these characters is that they don't really listen to what they're saying, a result of having led sheltered lives. And yet they do develop an affection for them. They're not mean, and they do mean well. They're just out of touch. Barcelona serves as a general reminder that there's a whole lot more to the world than Americans typically acknowledge. It's a fresh and funny film full of attractive characters, the Spanish women in particular. I enjoyed it a lot.
And, one of those Spanish women is played by Mira Sorvino, who is Paul Sorvino's daughter. It's very charming. And the movie is charming.
Yes.
And the movie is well written. Whit Stillman writes dialogue in a satiric way. It's not, so many movies, the dialogue is just flat because it's only an engine to keep the plot chugging along. Here, we're supposed to stop and listen to the way these people express themselves. For example, the naval officer is offended when he sees a graffiti that says that the Yankee fleet is a bunch of fascists. He says, I want you to know that men wearing this uniform defended Europe against fascism. And he talks like that in a very serious way. And his friend, his cousin, is talking about business in the same way, as if somehow selling these motors that he has to the Spanish is about the same thing as fighting fascism. And they're so serious about this that it's funny and ironic and endearing, too.
Good film. When we come back, Roger's video pick of the week.
Okay. So, Boat, what did you think of Rogers? Let's start with Roger's review of this.
All right, starting with Roger. Overall, just quickly, I love the movie.
Yes.
I think Roger hits the nail on the head, which is that, they both have this both the main characters have this self-seriousness to them of taking themselves very, very seriously. And even in situations where there's clearly more important stuff going on, but they take these little things that essentially are their lives so seriously. And I think that's a good insight from Roger. So thumbs up for Roger.
I wholeheartedly agree. I love that he brings up the writing of it and the satirical, and it all falls on the right. This movie falls on the writing 100%, and it fucking works perfectly. I give the big thumbs up as well for Roger's review. How do you feel about Siskel's?
Siskel also. I think Siskel's best insight in that is that these characters do not hear themselves talk. They're not actually listening to themselves, which is true about all of Whit Stillman's 90s trilogy, Metropolitan, The Last Days of Disco. All three of those have characters who, if somebody else said the exact same thing that they were saying, they would call it out and say that's ridiculous. These are characters who do not actually listen to themselves. and I think that's a great insight from Gene. So thumbs up for him too.
I was going to bring up the same thing. That insight is fucking incredible, and it is 100% accurate for this movie. I also give his review a big thumbs up. So before we give our overall thoughts, let's see their pick for home video.
Store, so we'll see
Brand new buried treasures to recommend.
They're everywhere. Siskel and Ebert's video pick of the week, brought to you by Orville Redenbacher, the first and last name in popcorn.
Every once in a while, a good movie gets overlooked at the box office, but when it comes around on video, you get another chance to see it. And there are 3 wonderful movies like that just entering the video stores right now, and I'd like to recommend them as my personal favorites. One is Household Saints, the story of 3 generations in an Italian-American family, leading up to an unforgettable character played by
I haven't
William
either.
Taylor here.
I will be putting it on my list.
Like to be a saint.
And you? No doubt you have plans of your own.
No, not me.
Oh, come on now.
Was that all
It's my
Lily
business
Taylor?
to read human nature.
I think
the
so.
The minute I saw you at that discussion group, I said, now there's a girl
I
who
wrote
knows what she
79
wants.
songs about Josh. I'm gonna sing them all tonight.
I wish
Another buried treasure, Body Snatchers by Abel Ferrara.
Oh, hell
The
yes.
film version of this classic story about invasion by the pod people, and one of the scariest, with Gabrielle Anwar here as a young woman who believes her parents may have become.
Oh yeah. This is a great time here. If you like the Invasion of the Body Snatcher story, this is a good interpretation of that story.
I didn't even know there was one in the 90s. I only
Yeah.
knew about the big 3. I didn't even realize.
Buried Treasure is a real sleeper, but look for it because it's worth it. It's called My Neighbor Totoro, and it's an animated film from Japan in English about some small children who make a friend of the mysterious creature who lives near them in the forest.
Didn't expect this one to come up.
So, Household Saints, Body Snatchers, and My Neighbor Totoro, my video picks of the week. Just because they weren't big box office hits doesn't mean they aren't entertaining. Now let's take another look at the movies we reviewed on this show. 2 thumbs down for The Client, despite some excellent performances. The setup is good.
And I had
the
a
story
thumbs up
loses track of the people and plugs in formula melodrama
Yeah.
instead.
I had thumbs up and thumbs
2
down.
thumbs up for Lassie. Sure, it was corny, but we
I had a
liked
thumbs
it.
down for Ebert and a
2
thumbs up
big
for
thumbs up
Gene.
I
for
had
It Can
both
Happen
2
to You
thumbs up
with
for
terrific
them.
comedy
Both
performances
thumbs
by
up for
Nicolas
this.
Cage,
Both
Rosie
thumbs up for
Perez,
this
and
as
Bridget
well.
Fonda in the story of a lottery ticket that changes everyone's lives. It opens in theaters everywhere next week. 2 walloping thumbs down for Norm.
Yeah, thumbs up.
Story of a
Both
little
thumbs
boy
up
who
for
goes
their
shopping
reviews
for
of
new
this.
parents. Gene and I had a little contest to see which one of us hated this movie the most.
There was a tie.
And finally, 2 thumbs up for Whit Stillman's Barcelona.
And also 2
especially for
thumbs
its witty
up.
dialogue and sophisticated situations as 2 young Americans learn about life, love, and Spain. It opens next week in New York and Los Angeles and goes out wider in the month of August.
Just a little point about Lassie, which I like very much. In the movie, and in a lot of kids' movies, it's the dad who doesn't want the dog, the mean dad. Beethoven, remember, Charles Grodin didn't want the dog. Here, the dad doesn't want the dog. In real life, it's the dads who do want the dog, the moms who don't want the dog, because the moms are going to have to do all the work for it. So
This sounds like it might have just a touch of autobiography to it.
this might be, but not a crime. That's it for this week. Next week, we'll be back with a special show on the career of Tommy Lee Jones, the Oscar-winning actor who has 5 films out this year alone. Tommy Lee Jones, the smartest tough guy in Hollywood, and one of the busiest too. That's next week. Until then, the balcony is closed.
Okay.
Jelly Belly Jelly Beans is a sponsor.
Oh my god. Overall, what did you think of the video picks of the week, Bo?
Well, I hadn't seen 2 of those, but it was interesting. I did not expect Ebert to randomly drop My Neighbor Totoro on her.
Especially with Body Snatchers. 2 completely opposite
Like,
movies.
What, a movie about Italian sainthood, a horror Body Snatchers update, and also My Neighbor Totoro. Here you go.
So overall, Bo, what did you think was the biggest thumbs up review for that? Since we basically gave all thumbs up, what is your favorite review from them today?
Okay. So I feel like the obvious is to say Ebert's North, and that is probably the correct pick. I'm not going to pick that because everybody loves Ebert's North, and like even people who haven't watched this have probably at least heard, his I hated this movie. I'm going to go with Siskel on Barcelona. I think Siskel had some really good insights on Barcelona and Whit Stillman's filmography as a whole that I really like. So that's my biggest thumbs up.
I'm going to go, again, I agree with you that North is a overall pick here would be, but I'm going to go with Roger's review of Could Happen to You, Nicolas Cage. He hit the nail on the head with that, with the chemistry between Nicolas Cage and Fonda and everything in between. I give his review of that the biggest thumbs up. So there you have it. We did the infamous episode of North of At the Movies with Siskel and Ebert. But what did you think of this for the first episode?
Yeah, if I had to give this episode an overall thumbs up or thumbs down, it gets the overall thumbs up. Siskel and Ebert are just two of the greats. We don't get a whole lot of friction between the two of them in this one, which I do think is one of their biggest strengths is just when they did disagree that they could take punches as well as they could give them. And I think that hopefully we get to see a few more arguments down the line.
Yeah.
But overall, they're just two incredibly knowledgeable, insightful people, and watching them get that mad at North will never not be funny.
I wholeheartedly agree with you. Their back and forth on just in general is legendary, so I can't wait to see other episodes where they really delve into that. But yeah, overall, their film takes are incredible. The way they present their takes is legendary. I love everything about these two, and I can't wait to see what we have in store for the next one. Thank you, everyone, for watching. We will be back with another episode. Don't know what day this is going to drop, but we will be posting that, and we'll figure out kind of how much we want to release these. But again, thank you, everyone, for watching At the Video Store with Siskel and Ebert. I'm Mr. DVD. As always, we got a boat when there's water. We will see you next time.